Hey guys, Ben Taylor here with Raw Motivations. Want to come and talk to you today and to kind of go through a couple things that people have sent in or that people have brought up and said, hey, this is a question I have or this is something I want you to go over. If you guys don't know who I am by now, my name is Ben Taylor. I'm a self-aware narcissist who's on this channel to promote awareness about narcissism, healing, growth, and change. And I do that in a couple different ways. I do that on this platform, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. I do it on other platforms as well, dropping like nuggets of truth of those short 1-minute videos. But then I also do it in talking to people on a day-to-day basis, like interacting with people who are either stuck in the abuse or they've just gotten out and they're not sure what to do. Typically, they're dealing with something called a trauma bond, where it feels like they know in their head that they shouldn't go back to this person, but their heart and their emotions keep pulling them back, keep drawing them back to that toxic person. So a lot of times we're talking through that, and my goal sometimes is to get them broken and break away from that person, to break that trauma bond. And it's the idea of dealing with the feelings that they're thinking, the story that they're telling themselves that's kind of like underlying the situation, and then figuring out like what's the facts. Like if we step back from this and don't look at an emotional standpoint, like how does this actually apply? What's actually going on here and what's actually true? When we find the truth, that's what starts setting people free. When it starts breaking people free from their bonds that they've been stuck with as narcissists for a long period of time. Maybe that's you and you've broken free and then you're in the middle state where you're kind of like, it's calm, but I don't feel the calm. Like there's an aspect of having peace, but it not being peaceful. You know, there's the idea of you're not being actively abused in the moment, but you're also like waiting of when's it going to come? Where's the chaos that I'm used to? Like where's the craziness that I've been involved in for the past 6 months, 10 years? Like what's actually going on? And that's like the detox process, the process of being able to get away from the narcissist and detox yourself from that constant communication or manipulation or control or lying or whatever might have been one of the most prevalent things in that relationship, of kind of detoxing from that. And then we get to the place where we're dealing with, hey, who are you? Like now that you have to kind of get rid of all this stuff, you kind of have to put yourself back together, figure out your own self-confidence, your own self-worth, and figure out like clarity of like who you are and where you're going. Anyways, that's what I do with people on like a day-to-day basis. A lot of times starting at 5 a.m. in the morning, talking to people all across the globe, which is really awesome to interact with you guys and be able to help you guys find healing, growth, and change by getting out of these toxic relationships. Anyways, that's enough. I'm going to jump in real quick here. So someone wrote in and they asked this. Can you give us some insight on how the narc actually treats the other woman? I was lied to, abused, hoovered, stalked by a married narcissist who initially lied he was leaving his wife and then progressed to not leaving, but equally not wanting to let me go. In the process of over 3 years, he had abused me whilst married in every possible way you can imagine. I know reading this, the obvious comment would be why I allowed this, but it's easier said than done. There is not much education on the narc and the affair suffering abuse. Most information is rather focused on the narc and the wife. Thanks. Thank you for writing in. I appreciate it. With this, you know, it is true. There's a lot of information out there on the narcissist and like the main supply or the main relation. And a lot of people get overlooked of being the side piece, the side chick, you know, the side person, or just the affair partner that's going on. And you have to remember, like, there's some affair partners that they have no clue that they're an affair partner. Like, literally, they just think they are the girlfriend, the boyfriend in the situation. They don't know that there's other aspects going on. From how this person wrote in, they knew that was going on because of the fact that the narcissist kept promising, or let's say future faking, the future of them breaking up and getting divorced from his wife to be with this other person. A lot of times you'll see this in a narcissistic relationship where they will be with their spouse and they'll lie about it. Some narcissists will be completely just, I'm not married at all, when in reality they are. All of a sudden they go to get married and they have to go to a different state because they don't have record over there of the narcissist getting married. Or all of a sudden they go to get married and they realize like, oh, like this person is actually already married. And you're like, whoa, like wait, what happened? Like you didn't tell me. A lot of times this happens. And sometimes the narcissist will keep like future faking out of like, I'm gonna break up with her, I'm gonna move out, I'm gonna get divorced, all this kind of stuff. And it rarely ever happens. A lot of times it doesn't happen because they're set, they're comfortable. Like if they leave, then they have to pay divorce fees, then they have to pay alimony, then they have to pay child support, whatever it might be. And a lot of times that is more of an inconvenience to them than still living with this person or still being married. So a lot of times you'll see narcissists, when they leave, they won't sign the divorce papers. They won't deal with the child support. They won't do anything like that because they don't care, and they're more content just to let it fly under the radar than they are to actually own up to it. But anyways, in regards to this, like a lot of times you'll have someone who gets on the other side that thinks, hey, this is going to happen. Like the narcissist, they said they're going to leave their spouse. Like they said they're going to come and we're going to ride off into the sunset. And a lot of times what you'll see is a lot of future faking. So when you're in those type of relationships and you start to realize, hey, there's someone else involved, you might need to take a step back and be like, wait a second. Like if there's someone else involved, that means there's other things in play here that I need to kind of step back and make sure that I understand what's going on and make sure I see that happen and play out before I jump into this relationship. Because otherwise, people jump into the relationship thinking that the narcissist is going to end their marriage or thinking that they're going to leave when they never do. So there's a huge aspect of a narcissist that's married, getting with another affair partner, and future faking. It's big on future faking, of saying like, hey, this is going to happen, but then it never does. As a result, that other person a lot of times is like pushed down and explained away. You know, there's an aspect of like, well, I have to go back to the house because of my wife, or I have to go see him because he's the father of my kids. And there's all this type of stuff that ends up being very manipulative on the abused side that makes them think like, wait a second, like I just need to give them more grace. I need to give them more time. Like, of course, it makes sense that they need to talk to their spouse about dealing with X, Y, and Z. And a lot of times they'll ignore some red flags that are actually happening by, just that thought of like, well, yeah, they have to talk to them. Or, yeah, they have to do this. And then they start realizing, well, they're talking to them a lot more. Well, they're just moved back in, or like they haven't actually divorced. Like, and you see this pattern of future faking, kind of getting close, love bombing. Hey, we're going to go on this trip together. You come back, you're still not divorced. Like, there's a lot of confusing things going on there. So with the person that's the affair partner, like one of the things to think through is, how is this person actually showing that they value and that they care about you? If they're still with someone else, if they're still acting like they're going to be with you, but they haven't actually done it, chances are they probably don't care. And you could be in a toxic relationship. So you need to be careful, because you need to have someone that's going to, if they're going to leave for you, or if they're going to leave in general, they need to get out of that relationship and they need to focus on themselves. Because everybody coming out of any relationship, especially a toxic person, especially a toxic relationship, has to get out and has to do work on themselves. If they're unwilling to do work on themselves, then later down the road, when your relationship is struggling, they're not going to work on themselves then. They're not going to focus on you. They're just going to focus on themselves and what they want, but not working on getting themselves better. That's something to really think of, and that's something to really keep an eye out, because there is a big aspect of people that get abused by narcissists that have extra no voice and absolutely no say because of the fact that they're not even in that person's life. They're kind of like on the side. They're kind of like led on. They have a dual life where the narcissist pops in their lives and they think everything's fine, but then they go back to their regular supply, their lifelong supply, their partner, or whatever it might be. So there isn't a lot out there that talks about that particular side of it. Because a lot of times there's a lot of people that feel embarrassed, or they feel ashamed that they were with this person and they kept getting future faked, and they kept having the idea of like something was going to change. They were going to divorce. They were going to get together. They were going to ride off into the sunset, and it never happens. And so there's a huge aspect of shame that a lot of victims take upon themselves, thinking like, I did this, like maybe I destroyed their marriage, or maybe like, why didn't this person choose me when they said they were going to choose me? Like all these type of things that kind of flood their minds. What you have to remember is you have to take a step back, and you have to start like pulling aside and kind of like pushing aside some of the feelings, so you can look at the situation as a whole. And you can see, hey, like this person is still married, and after 6 months, after a year, they still haven't done anything to show that they're actually interested in me, except for the fact that they want to keep me around, not the fact that they're trying to build a life. So just be careful of that. Because that's a big aspect out there, that there is a lot of narcissists that are married that want to be with other people at the same time so they can have their cake and eat it too. Because it's a lot more effective for a narcissist to be with multiple people while bumming off of one person than it is to have to move around all the time with every single person out there. Something to think about. Thanks so much for asking.